Hey guys, we are so excited to share this interview we had with HL Docherty. If you're interested in getting tips on pitch events, writing tips, or tips about inspiration, please stay tuned. We have so much fun stuff coming up.
Well, I'm HL Docherty and I write primarily dark fantasy romance books. My current book, Snowdrops and Stones, is on submission right now. So any editors, feel free to snap that up with Rachel Esther from Deforio Literary Agency. And then I'm currently working on my whip, which is Soulless, which I've just finished the first draft of. And I'm currently editing.
Hello. Oh my gosh, good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad at all. Sorry, I'm running around like a head. I've got ADHD and the time blindness is real.
No, you're so good.
It's nice to meet you both.
Oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you. I don't know if you remember, you commented under my post, and that's like how we started DMing. So thanks for doing that.
No problem at all. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's one of those things where I'm quite, this is going to sound quite arsey, I know it is, but I'm quite select about who I follow on Instagram because I don't like the idea of just like follow for follow, if that makes sense, because I don't think it grows a community. So I don't, unless I get chatting to people, I don't generally tend to follow them, if that makes sense. Yeah. So like it wasn't until we started chatting and stuff like that I thought, oh my god, I don't follow you. I was like, oh. So
I took a look through your page and you have some very interesting things going on.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, it's part and parcel of being a writer now, isn't it? You've got to market yourself. I do always laugh when I see those memes and it's like that crying girl doing the sad dance and she's like, I wrote a book so now I have to market it.
But you're killing it at marketing. We were looking through your page a lot and we were like, oh my gosh, the Netflix post too is like so cool.
Honestly, like somebody messaged me not too long ago asking how I made it. I was like, babe, I bought that for like 50 pence off Etsy. My only disclaimer is that I swear like a sailor. I'm so sorry.
You should be yourself.
Okay, it's just I'm absolutely terrible. My agent has got a Discord and we're all in the Discord together and it's a huge variety of people and there's just me. I'll just like start talking and then I'll like use the C word and everyone's just like, for God's sake, and I'm like, I'm so sorry.
At least you feel comfortable in your Discord though.
Yeah, like there is such a lot, like my agent siblings are, all of them are magical. I love them. Like like when Rachel is my agent, when she first suggested like when I first signed with her and she said, we've got an agent Discord, do you want to join it? I stream on Twitch, or I used to before I had the baby, but I stream on Twitch, so I already had Discord and I knew all about it, so I joined it. And like this group of people, like it's everything from like, I think the youngest is 24 and I think the oldest is coming up to 60. I'm gonna say 50 just in case I'm wrong and they're shouting me. But like it's so like it's such an eclectic mix of people. They're all wonderful people. Yeah,
that's awesome. How do they mix? Like, how do you feel the conversations go? Is it there like a clear difference?
Yeah, so there's it's because it's such like different walks of life. Like not every conversation applies to me. I'll always look and I'll always like skip through it all. But like the different channels that we've got in there, so there's different things that we can talk about, so we can put in snippets of our writing and get feedback on it. Most of it is just Taylor Swift crack because Rachel's obsessed with Taylor Swift. We have our own Taylor Swift. We've got one boy in the Discord and he is not a massive fan of Taylor Swift. We have a channel in the Discord for all the Taylor Swift stuff because we've got some huge Swifties in there. That's how I found Rachel. Rachel was a brand new agent. I'm talking, I think she'd been on Query Tracker for a couple of weeks when I found her. And I hadn't queried her. I don't think she was open because, like I said, she was brand new. And I did. One of the other agent siblings has got a pitch event called Swifty Pitch, and so she was doing that for the first time, and I thought, oh hell yeah! So I pitched my book with Taylor Swift songs. And that's how Rachel found me because she's also, and this was like in like all the hype with eras and everything going on. So like she found me through that pitch event and I was really nervous because I really liked her. And it's like, I don't like this idea of like dream agent like that. That's never been like my kind of thing, but it's just somebody that I knew I would gel with. And we laugh now because she was really professional when I first met her, and she was like really like yeah, she's a literary agent, and she has to put on the front of a professional literary agent. And now that I know her, she's just an absolute raw. Like, she's so funny, and like I'll just text her every day about like random crap that's got nothing to do with any literary agent or selling my book or anything like that. And like, and she'll send me photos of my dog every day, like, you know. And it's a really nice relationship. It's a really it's still a professional relationship. She's my business partner, but like it's a really friendly relationship. She's a really lovely woman. Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's really cool that you were able to have like such a natural relationship with her.
When I was on the call with her, because I think it was quite, I don't know, because it goes different for everybody, but she literally offered me representation in the email. We didn't have a call or anything. It was like, I like this book, I want to represent this book. So I said, because of the time difference, she said, I'm more than happy to just send over a contract if that's the way that you want to do it, or we can arrange a call, but I know it's awkward for you. And I was like, well, I would rather speak face to face before I sign anything. So we did, and like straight off the bat she said, I'm willing to have with you any kind of relationship that you want to have. She's like, we can do this the way that you want to do this. And I know that she takes quite a different approach from what I've seen of other people. And like I said, everyone's different and every literary agent's different, but she was very much like, if you want, you can check in every 2 weeks to a month and I'll just give you everything all at once, or we can do a Zoom call every once in a while, or we can just chat. We can have a friendly relationship, we can have a strictly professional. It's completely up to you. So like, we've kind of morphed this relationship together from that. So yeah.
That's awesome. How long have you been agented then?
That was September last year. She usually picks up books that don't need a lot of work doing to them. Snowdrops and Stones, I wrote that when I was 19.
Oh.
I'm 35 now. So I wrote it when I was 19, and it sat in a Dropbox folder until I was about 30, and then I picked it back up again. And it has been heavily edited. It was 177,000 words.
Oh my gosh.
When I wrote it first. So it's 104,000 now. So I've removed an entire book from my book. So it's been heavily edited, so it didn't really need lots doing to it. So we sent it on submission, I think, at the end of October. And we're now in our second round of sending out. So yeah, it's a 4-book series that I'm a debut. So I appreciate that it's going to be a tricky sell, but I kind of feel like I've got my foot in the door now. Normally people don't get agented with their first book, and I appreciate how lucky I've been, because I feel like, and this isn't a slight on Rachel or anything like that, but I just feel like it was the right place at the right time. She had a very small client list. I think she only had 2 clients. Like, it was very, it was swiftly pitched, like I said, with the hype of the eras. And so it was just the right thing that happened at the right time. And I think a lot of getting agented is that it's not that you don't have a fantastic book, or the agent doesn't really like your creativity or whatever. And it's so frustrating when you get these emails that are like, oh, not a fit for my list, or like all of the other like forms that we've all had. But I think a lot of it is to do with timing. And so now that I've got the literary agent, even if this book doesn't sell, I now have the creative freedom to do a lot more, and I don't have to kind of jump through the hoops almost as much. Does that make sense? Like, because now I can just say to my literary agent, do you like this? And she'll go, yeah, do that. And so now I can do what I want, and I don't have to think, okay, well, would this sell to this, or do you know what I mean? So, because I know that she can look at it and she can decide what she likes and what she doesn't, and we can kind of go from there. Like, it was always, I'm such an overwriter, as you can probably tell from 177,000 words. So my current whip is very different. I write fantasy romance, but I do like it more on the darker side. And I don't mean like dark romance. I just mean like in theme and tone. I like it darker. So the first one was set is a second world fantasy set in a kind of an urban environment, whereas this is a second world fantasy set in more like medieval, kind of like as medieval as you can get because it's second world, but the tone is a lot darker. Like it is grim dark, it's horror romantasy, it's very like, I don't know, like alchemized type stuff. So it's very, very different to my first book. And I wrote it, it was 85,000 words, and I hated it, and I scrapped the whole thing and started again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But I was heavily pregnant when I wrote it, and my brain wasn't functioning like a normal brain should. So I ended up writing it again. I started in February, and from February to now I've written 135,000 words. So I now need to cut it down.
Oh my goodness. How did you even like manage to do that? Did you even keep like any parts from when you were pregnant?
No, yeah, that I did. I kept the first few chapters, but reading them back now compared, because I've heavily edited it. So even the first part of the first draft is so different to what I've got now. So I think I'm just going to delete that 85, completely get rid of it like it never existed, because it is not, it's not good.
Oh my gosh, we're also overwriters, so it's very inspiring to hear this.
I found my people.
May I ask, like, that process of editing, was it something you tackled alone? Did you like find other writers online and get their help?
So when I went to seek representation for Snowdrops and Stones, I did it. I feel like a bit of a fraud right now because I never intended to be an author. It was not something that I wanted to do. I wrote this book when I was having a really hard time when I was 19. There was a lot of stuff going on, and it was just a form of escapism. And that was literally all it was, 177,000 words of escapism. And I, like I said, put it in a Dropbox folder, and it got forgotten about for a very, very long time. Every few years, I would get it out and read it and be like, oh, bless, like, this is quite a nice story, but no. And then my mum passed away when I was 31. Thank you. My mum passed away when I was 30, and I ended up going to therapy. And when I was in therapy, I realized that I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything to make me feel happy and to look after, like, nurture little me or like anything like that. And so I got back into things that used to make me happy when I was younger, and started playing guitar again, and started like cooking nice food and eating nice foods. But writing was one of the things that I always thought, oh, well, I really enjoy doing that. So I dusted off this manuscript and started going through it and started editing myself. And I showed the first few chapters to my friend, and I am really, and this is still a massive, massive deal for me now, I am a really shy writer. It was not my intention to get published. It was not my intention to ever share anything that I wrote with the world. My friend begged. She begged and begged and begged. And the only reason I let her have it is because I told her about it when we were 19. We used to sit and drink wine on a balcony, and she'd talk about story ideas that she had. And I'm like, oh, well, I've written this book and blah, 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 blah. So I let her read the first few chapters when I was absolutely sloshed. And she said, you should try and get this published. And I was like, shut up. And so she hopped on and on and on and on. And like, I am not one for signs. I'm not spiritual. I'm not anything like that. But the day that I decided that I was going to get it published is my literary agent's birthday.
Oh.
And I've got the screen grab that my friend sent me where she's like, send me the book. And like, that was the time where I was like, right, fine, I'll get it published. And so like, that was my literary agent's birthday. And I didn't know that she pointed it out to me after the fact. And I was like, oh, that's quite nice. But so when it came to the editing process, I went to Reddit first, and I went and looked for beta readers on Reddit. Bear in mind, I had no idea about anything. I was completely new to the entire thing. I didn't know that there was like, I didn't know 177,000 words was a lot of words. Like, I didn't know how many words was in a book. Like, so I went to Reddit looking for beta readers, and everyone was like, dude, no. It's like, oh, okay. So I managed to get 2 beta readers from that. One of them was ruthless, and she tore the first half, like in a good way, but like she basically read the first half of the book and went, put this in the first 50 pages, and I was like, oh. So I was like, oh my God. And so I started kind of looking into how you get a literary agent while trying to implement some of this beta reader feedback. And that's when I came across kind of like Query Tracker, and that's when I started in the writing community on Twitter. And I met Jenee Dutary, who's she's coming out with her debut in September, Fire and Death.
Cool.
At a dear Goodreads. I met her on X while I needed a key for Windows, and she had one, like Microsoft Word, sorry, and she had one, so she sent me that, and we got talking, and we've literally spoken every single day since. And within 3 weeks of knowing the woman, she'd introduced me to her good friend, Joe Bentley, who's another author. And the three of us just kind of made this lovely trio, and they're my go-tos for everything now. Like everything that I write gets put past them, because it's like, it's that idea that you're stronger. I would not be a writer without them. Like my books wouldn't be as good without them. Like, and that's not to diminish my efforts, but I do genuinely feel like you need that sense of community. And I think the writing community in general on Instagram and on Twitter, when the algorithm wants to give me content on Twitter, there's such a strong community. And I know there's always drama and there's always stuff that's happening, blah 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 blah, but if you think about like the core people who are on both those platforms, like I like could message any one of them, like, and so like Anne Glimmer or Michelle Sanchez, or like any of these people that just like popped to mind, and I can just message them and be like, hi, can you help me please? And they just would, you know. And if I said to them, will you read my entire manuscript, they'd go, yeah, okay, you know. So like it is one of those things where once you find your people, I don't think it's easy necessarily to find them, but once you have found them, it's like you're all in the same boat. And like when me, Jeanette and Jenee first started talking, we were all unagented and we didn't have any book deals or anything like that. And now all three of us have got an agent, and Jenee's having a book published in September. So it's like, it's so nice to, but I know that book that's getting published in September, I know I've had a hand in that. Do you know what I mean? I've beta read that, I've given feedback to help that. So I feel like the editing process itself is like nothing without the people around me, you know, but it's definitely my favorite part. I hate drafting, but I love editing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then how long would you say it took you to get an agent in the trenches?
A year, exactly. A year and a week, because I've renewed my bloody query tracker subscription, and then a week later I got an offer. I was like, so yeah, it took exactly 1 year and 1 week from me. Probably a little bit longer, because for the first few weeks I didn't have Query Tracker Plus. But like the addict that I am, I needed to see those little smiley faces and timelines. So I paid for the year, and then a week after that expired when so now I got an email this morning like, oh, you query watch notification. I'm like, I should really turn those off. Yeah.
So then I'm assuming you did it in batches.
So I was really close to shelving Snowdrops and Stones. Like when I say really close, I think Rachel was the last agent that I queried.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like I was just so totally done with it. So at first I was going through wish lists with a fine-tooth comb. I was like curating every single query letter that I wrote to this one, and then you'd get a form back and it would be like, oh, and I completely understand why they send forms, because they get hundreds if not thousands of submissions. But it was after about the first 2 batches I just thought, oh, what am I doing here? Like I went away, I did more revisions, because when I was first querying it, I was querying it at 123,000 words, and I think it was Amanda Carbonell, who was a literary agent at the time, got back to me and said, like, listen, you're probably not going to get representation with a word count that large, so I would suggest that you maybe cut it back a bit. And then I got talking to Kathy Hendrick Armstrong.
Oh yeah.
And she is an amazing woman. Like, oh, anyone who's got her as an agent is lucky. But she has got some really, really good resources that help you cut down word count. And I think just from that alone, I think I removed 6,000 words. Like, and it was just all your crutch words like that, and just and like all the useless adverbs you don't need. Like, so she was absolutely like phenomenal. So I went away and did all of this work to cut the word count down more. I then got a small press wanted the full, and it was a really, really difficult no for them. And they pointed out one thing in the middle that they didn't like. And so using their feedback, it was my intention to revise and resubmit. Using their feedback, I went away and changed the middle and managed to get it from 108 to 104. And I made the main character stronger by doing so. And I just made the story stronger. And it's like, it's one of those things where that's why I think, again, I appreciate why editors and agents can't always give the feedback, but it's why I feel like that was so important to me, because that small press feedback, like for me, is the thing that got me my agent. So before I went to resubmit to them and they were closed, which actually ended up being a really good thing, because that's when Rachel then liked the pitch, and then I submitted to Rachel. But I was very much done with agents after like basically the first 2 batches. And then when I was submitting, it was a generic copy and paste query letter. I was only looking on the wish lists to see if they accepted my genre. I wasn't looking in, because like when I submitted to Rachel, she wasn't actually looking for fantasy romance, or basically I think she'd said something like it was a really hard sell for her. So I like, obviously she'd like my pitch, so I did it because of that, but I wasn't expecting anything great. And then I was in the maybe pile, and I was like, and I was in the maybe pile for quite a long time as well. But I just got a funny feeling. I just thought, if she rejects, I'm not getting a literary agent, but I don't think she's going to reject. Like I remember being like so like convinced. Like if that had been a rejection, I would have been gutted. But like I was so convinced that it was going to, and I don't know why. There was literally not. The other thing that made me really like her as well is there was another small press that I submitted to, and so I submitted to 3 small press. The first one, they offered me a contract, and then when I tried to amend the contract, they ghosted me.
What?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
The second one was the revise and resubmit, and the third one said that they wanted it and sent me the contract, and then I realized it was a vanity press, and I was like, oh no, because they were cheeky, because on the website they said that they do vanity press, but it's just like they'll see that it depends on the query. So basically they wanted me to sink in a lot of money into this book, and I didn't realize this at the time. I just got this offer, so I sent that out to the queries that I had opened. Oh, mine are sleeping there. But so I ended up sending out that I had an offer to all of to the agents that I had left on Query Tracker, and it was Rachel who responded to me going, be careful, because on their website it says that they do vanity, so you don't want to be paying money. She's like, anybody who wants you, and I just thought that was really nice of her, considering she wasn't the agent, she was just some like, so, but I think that did give her the kick up the bum to be like, right, okay, if I'm going to offer, I have to offer, because clearly she's looking elsewhere. But the one thing that I will say, like, which isn't a question you've asked, just but while we're on it, because I just don't think many authors are aware of it, is like your debut status is, if you're wanting traditionally published, your debut status is really, really important, because you're lucrative to editors. So if you go with small press because your book has died in the trenches, you lose that debut author status. And because it's small press, unless you're very lucky, you're probably not going to see huge sales, which makes you a lot less lucrative to editors if you do get traditionally published. But I did not know that until I had an agent, and a lot of people that I know didn't know that either. So while it's not a question of us, I just thought I would take the time while we're talking, just in case anyone watches this and is like, oh, I want to do small press, that if you want to do traditional publishing, don't do small press, would be my advice. It would be, go away, try another book, you know, like, which I know it's so easy to say that when I've got an agent, because if someone had said that to me when I didn't have an agent, I'd want to pull my hair out. But like, it is just like one of those things where I'm really glad that I didn't go small press in the end. Yeah.
Do you know why editors are more picky like that?
I think it's probably because you're theirs then, and they can market you the way that they want to. But I think it's also, if you've self-published, or if you've done a book with small press and you've sold like 20 books, then they're going to look at that and be like, well, why would you sell more for us? Do you know, it's all about money. Do you know what I mean? That's what you're there for. Do you know, you're there to make them money.
Taking it to your books, what do you think makes your story unique? Like, how did you figure out what your hook was, what you wanted it to be?
With the first book, that sort of all went out the window with the hook and stuff like that, because I very much didn't have that in mind. And so when it came to selling it, it was a lot harder, because I hadn't gone into it with that like idea of selling it in mind. So I didn't really know a hook, I didn't really know comps, I didn't really know like anything about this book. And like, whereas going into this one, the one that I'm currently working on, that's a lot different, because I've done like homework this time. So I've been reading around the genre and using things that I can comp. So there was stuff like when I was reading One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig, and I was like, okay, this world is phenomenal. How do I make this world into my book, but make it my own? Do you know what I mean? But it's like taking like inspiration from like bits and bobs like that. And so when I'm like looking at the hook, I always ask like a premise question. So, and that's kind of what I've kind of built this around. So I've got my premise question written. What if a monster hunter sworn to keep the darkness out of her city discovers she carries the darkness inside her, and the only man who can teach her how to survive it was an enemy she was raised to kill? And so that was the premise question. And then everything else kind of came out from that, like the hooks and the log lines and comps and everything like that. So yeah.
Did you get any help at all writing your premise question from your agent?
No, what I did is I had so I had a whip that I'd been working on while I was pulling my hair out in the trenches over snowdrops and stones, and that was called Threadweaver. And that came from when I was looking at manuscript wish lists. An agent, I can't remember who now, but an agent had said that they wanted steampunk variants, and one of the things that she listed was clockpunk, and I was like, that isn't a thing. And so I went away and I looked at it and I was like, ooh, this looks cool. And so I was like, okay. And this is the first time that, because normally I've got like an idea in my head of what I want to build the story around. This was completely different. This was like, I just wanted to write in this world. I had no story, I had no characters, I had nothing. I just had this clockpunk looks cool. And so I started with the magic system first for that. I did it really, really backwards, because I'm a pantser. Like, if I outline, it takes the joy. That's why I scrapped the first draft of Soulless, because I thought to be a proper writer I had to outline, and I didn't realize there was a difference between pantsers and plotters. And so I outlined I outlined Soulless so heavily, and I hated it. Writing it was like an absolute slog, so that's probably one of the reasons why it's in the bin now. But so I'd started Threadweaver, and I'd started with the kind of magic system, and wanted it to kind of be like time magic and like cool, basing it all around like this idea of clockpunk and clocks and time, and yeah. And so I'd started writing on that, and I got about 20,000 words into it, and then I watched K-pop Demon Hunters, and I was like, what happens if this was for adults, not for children? It wasn't K-pop, and it had sex in it. I was like, what is that? So from there, I managed to like start Soulless. And when I first started it, it was like boom, boom, boom. But then when I was like, oh, I'm getting to the bit where I don't know what happens next, instead of just like pantsing my way through it, I was like, well, I'm going to outline. And then that's where it all kind of went bad. But by this point, Rachel had become my agent, and she was like finishing up with Snowdrops and Stones to send it out on submission. And she was very much like of the ilk, like I was 8 months pregnant at this point. So she's like, you don't need to do anything. You just do what you want to do. And I was like, I want to write. That's what I want to do. Like, I'd been on bed rest. I wasn't very well. I'd been on bed rest in September. It'd been like 2 months where I was like, so I just needed something to keep me busy. So I sent her the pitch for Threadweaver, and I sent her the pitch for Soulless, and it was like I did it as like a query letter and synopsis with a mood board for both, and she preferred the look of Soulless, kind of that whole grim dark horror romantasy thing is very like in at the minute, so like we're trying to get that done so we can send it out before it's not in anymore. So that's the reason why I ended up going for that one, but that was the only input into it that Rachel's had, really. She's there if I need her, but she's more than happy for me to let me do my own thing, you know? Yeah.
Since you're more like a pantser, do you find yourself needing to make a lot more edits as you go, or yeah?
Yeah. So I intentionally forced myself to get through this second draft of Soulless without editing. I refused to edit it because I'm one of these people. I love editing. I just love it. It's so much fun. And so I would never get to the end of the book because I'd just be forever editing the start of the book. So I finished Soulless last week. And I have already edited half the book and removed 10,000 words. And that's just on the first pass.
Congrats.
So, yeah, thank you. I mean, I have just entirely taken out 3 chapters and haven't bridged the gap yet. So there's definitely more words going back in. But it's one of those things where I know, because of the way that I write, I know that I'm going to have a lot of work to do by the end of it. Just because of the way that I am, and because, like any good writer, my characters decide what they want to do. I have no say in the matter whatsoever. They make a decision and I'm like, right, fuck, how do I write this? So yeah, it's one of those things where I know it's going to be a big job, but I really, like I said, love editing, so it doesn't feel like a chore. It feels like this is the bit that I do it for. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so encouraging to hear, because I am very bad at outlining. Maddie's teaching me about it right now.
My outline for the second draft of Soulless is I use Scrivener, and so for every single scene I wrote a sentence of what I wanted to happen in that scene, and then it's changed. It's like what's the point? So I'll get like halfway through the book and then I'll read the sentence and be like, that doesn't apply. And when did that stop applying? So yeah, I can try an outline, and I can, like, I was using Save the Cat for the first one, and I prefer to do it where once I've written the draft, then I'll go back and put it in the outline just to check that it fits. Whereas doing it the proper way where you outline it and then write, it just killed it for me. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. May I ask, I know, like, you mentioned this a little bit ago, you wrote your first book when you were 19 and then put it away, and then you reopened it. Like, when you wrote it when you were 19, like, were there any parts of you that were like, oh, maybe I should get this published one day, or like any part of you that assumed that at all?
No, I am so it's something I'm working on. But my literary agent takes the mickey out of me all the time, because she knows that if I ever get a book bought, she's going to have to ring us like, babe, I've got bad news, sit down. Because I am so, like, the imposter syndrome is insane. And it doesn't matter how many people tell me I've written a good book, or that the love, like, the characters or whatever. Like, I've got, like, there's a character called Ben in Snowdrops and Stones that I wrote. He's a side character. And he's a really angry, nasty side character, and the entire fandom's fallen in love with him. And every single time I can get excited about it, and it's amazing and it's lovely. And then I'm like, oh my God, like, nobody in my real life apart from my husband really knows that I write, you know? So I'm really like, about it. And so when I was 19, it was never, ever something that I thought I would, do. It was just for me. And even when I was querying, it was because it's so difficult to get a literary agent. Even then I was like, I'm just doing this because my friend wants me to. I don't like, nothing's going to come of it. And then when something came of it, I was like, oh shit, I've got to sell a book now. So yeah.
It's awesome that you went from not even like thinking about being an author and writing in that capacity to all of a sudden just getting a literary agent.
It was on, I put it on Fiction Press when it was 177k, and the feedback that I got was really, really good. And I was like, people are reading it, like, and like now that astounds me looking back, because people read 177,000 words of unedited story and thought it was amazing. And I think that was the thing that kind of gave me the confidence, along with my friends Endless Nagging, to like decide that, okay, yeah, this is this is something that I can maybe look into. So it's a like double-edged sword, isn't it? Because on one side I'm like, I really want this, and it would be amazing to sell a book and like be in like Waterstones or whatever. And then on the other side I'm like, I never want people to read what I've written ever. So yeah.
How do you deal with the imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
I've got me girls. Yeah, they're just that is all you can do. It's really funny because I've got a friend called Taylor Kaufman who I met her through, I think it was the Round Table Mentors Discord, and we swapped books because they were both gigantic. So hers was 135,000k, and I think that was when mine was 123,000k. So we both swapped books because they were both gigantic, and we beta read each other's books. And so now we've got like a really fond friendship where we just melt down to each other every once in a while, just about how crap our writing is and blah, blah. And bear in mind, we've read each other's books, so we know that it's not true. Like when she's like, I hate this, blah, 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 I'm having imposter syndrome. I'm like, babe, I've read your book, it's good. Like, it's like, we all know that. And I know that it's the same. So when I'm like, I'm such a terrible writer, like, I know that if it was one of my friends said it to me, I'd be like, shut up. Like, but it's really hard to kind of still that voice in your head. And I just think, for me personally, you've just got to like write it out, because it's a bad day and you're going to wake up the next day being like, yeah, I want to write again. Like, do you know, you're going to have those days where that nasty little voice in your head is going to tell you that you're not very good, or that somebody else is better, or something like that. But like, I don't know, like, run your own race and yeah, you'll get there. Just ignore the nasty voice.
Does your husband ever read with you, since he's like the only? Oh, okay.
So he's definitely never read anything I've written. Nor would I allow him. No. Like I said, like people don't. My best friend in the whole world that I've known since she was 2 years old has read the first 3 chapters. That's the extent of my real life. Like, who's read it? So yeah, he's not a big reader. I'm like the reader in the house, but he does like his fantasy. And when I described Soulless to him, he was actually kind of like, "Oh, that sounds quite good." And I was like, oh. So that was quite an ego boost. But he's like very much into his like Joe Abercrombie's and stuff like that, and obviously like Game of Thrones and stuff. So he's in more like really heavy, like grim fantasies, but he's more an audiobook guy. Plus, with 2 kids, it would be a miracle to be able to sit and read together. Between looking after them and keeping them fed and alive and stuff.
How do you find the time to write, like being so busy with 2 kids and like other life obligations?
I just tend to not sleep. So it's going to be really difficult this month. I'm on maternity leave, but every single June I take on extra work, which is full-time work, but I work from home and I don't arrange any childcare. I haven't this year. So I've got no childcare apart from when my mother-in-law's free. So right now I'm working a full-time job with a baby and trying to write or edit. So this month's going to be a slog. I know that it is, but the kids go down about 8 o'clock at night, and then I'm up till like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. And that's when I'll like absolutely smash it out. But I'm also beta reading 3 books at the same time. I regret saying yes to all of them. But one of them was like a non-negotiable. I would have pinned her down and hurt her if she didn't give me the book, because it's a sequel. So, and I've read the first one, so that's Jenee's. She's writing a second book, so I'm like, I need this. I want to read her book more than I want to write my own book. So like, but I've got like another 2 on at the minute as well, and they're both quite good books. One of them's like really caught my attention. So yeah, it's just trying to find time to do it all. So like, I usually dedicate like between 8 and 1, normally dedicate about 1 to 2 hours on other people's books, and then I'll do mine last, because if I start mine, then I won't stop. It's like a hyperfixation. Once I'm plugged in, I'm plugged in.
May I ask what you do outside of writing for full-time work?
I was a teacher, and then I went and did my master's degree in psychology in 2019 with the intention of becoming an educational psychologist. And then the entire country shut down for 2 years, and my mum passed, and it was just a very kind of turbulent time, and I couldn't do the training even if I wanted to do the training. And it kind of, that kind of grief really changes you as a person. And I kind of thought I like educational psychology. It is something that I could definitely see myself doing, but realistically, if I really thought about it, I was doing it because it pays well and because I got a doctorate and I got the doctor big title before my name, you know, and that's not the reason to do a job. So I decided then that I wanted to do something that made me really passionate. I really enjoyed teaching, but I didn't like all of the paperwork and the red tape around it. So I started my own business doing private tutoring, which is what I've done since then. I would like to do psychotherapy training, but it's just too much right now with the kids and stuff. So I'm going to wait till they're a bit older and then I'm going to look into doing that. Or I could just get a 6-figure deal. That would be nice.
That would be, and I'm sure that you'll get one very, very soon.
Yes.
Oh dear.
You had mentioned that you got your degree in psychology. How do you think that's influenced either your writing or how you create your characters?
Oh, massively. Like I love trauma. Like it's my bread and butter. Like nobody comes out of my books uninjured. And so it's really funny because when my readers of Snowdrops and Stones are really desperate for solace, and I'm like, solace is worse. Solace is so much worse. Like you ain't gonna like. Oh. But so I really like really messy characters trying to live in a world where their messiness spills out. And it's very, very different in Soulless to Snowdrops and Stones. I think Snowdrops and Stones is stronger just because it's been edited more, it's older, I've had a lot more time to look at it. But there's a lot of mental health rep in there. There's a lot of grief in there, like a lot of important characters die in horrible ways, and so it's characters dealing with that grief, and I can remember once I made my literary agent cry when she was reading it. I was like, yes. So I was like, I love exploring trauma, and it's the psychology degree which has massively informed that, because trauma can literally give you brain damage. So it's how you negotiate, like when so one of my characters has got like severe depression, and it's in a world where there's no such thing as antidepressants and she's too poor for therapy. So it's like you ain't getting, like, my girl's crazy, bless her, and she knows she's crazy, and it's like exploring what impact that has on her behavior, because when you're in that headspace you don't make rational decisions, and it's really, that's what I love writing them. I love writing messy characters. I love it. Yeah.
Awesome. So then do you have any advice on how writers can create more realistic characters?
I think it's called The Emotional Craft of Fiction by Donald Maas, and it was Amanda Carbonell who, when she gave me the I went to her for editing for Snowdrops and Stones, and we had a call afterwards, and she told me about this book, and it changed my life. Like it's so good, like, and it gives you different scenarios. So one of them's show and over telling. So, oh God, the amount of times you'd be told to show something rather than tell it. And when you're an overwriter, that's a pain in the arse, because showing takes up a page of work, whereas telling will be that much, you know? So, but there's basically it's a step-by-step guide saying, right, put your scenario in here, and then think about how you can make that like work by ticking these boxes, essentially. So you identify the emotional core, then you amplify it through thoughts and actions and subtext. So brainstorming how the protagonist might act based on those emotions, and then what's the biggest or boldest thing that they could do physically or verbally to respond to that situation. And then it gives you kind of an idea of like different explosive reactions or symbolic actions or words that cut deep and stuff like that. Then enhancing the scene with details. So, for instance, there's a scene in Snowdrops and Stones where somebody dies, and the main character is reacting to that, and she's looking at the clock because the clock's still ticking. And it's that idea of grounding the fact that this person is dead, but the time's still moving. Like, and for her, that's so insurmountable because time stopped, so why is the clock still moving? Do you know what I mean? And it's that idea of grounding it into one thing. But I wouldn't have thought of that myself. I would have, it was this book that helped me. So I would scream about that book from any rooftop. But yeah, The Emotional Craft of Fiction by Donald Maas. It's an amazing book. Yeah.
That's awesome. I've heard that there's like lots of different craft books that people will
That's my favorite. That's the one that I go to the most.
really.
Yeah. I also use the emotional thesaurus, but the emotional craft of fiction is absolutely the best book that I've got reference wise. Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that at least one of your books is dual point of view. Did I hear correctly?
So yeah, Snowdrops and Stones is dual POV. Soulless is just prologue and the epilogue are different, but the main story is one POV. So yeah, but Snowdrops and Stones is the female main character and the male main character, and it's alternating. So you get one from her, one from him, one from her, one from him. So
how do you manage to keep their voices separate? Is it also with that book or anything like that?
no, that was just the hardest thing I've ever done. Like that was just all me, and it's really. That was really, really difficult because there was a time when they were just the same person. Like they were just like not in how they thought, but in how they spoke. And now I absolutely pride myself on I could pick a random piece of dialogue and know who said it, even down to side characters now, because of the way that they act or like mannerisms or how it's said or something like that. So Elena, who's the female main character, she's very dry, she's very witty, she's very sarcastic, she's very angry. Everything's like rough around the edges with her, and the same with her older brother. So I sometimes still get her and her older brother confused, but I'm going to forgive myself that because they're siblings. So whereas Tiv, who's the male main character, he is like a billionaire. He's like spoiled rotten, like he owns the city, and like so everything about them is so different, and so that comes across. He talks a lot more eloquently, like you need a thesaurus for his dialogue sometimes, and like he doesn't contract words as often, whereas Elena does because she's talking quicker. Our words run together, like, do you know what I mean? So he might say cannot, she'd say can't, like little things like that. He's just a lot more eloquent and a lot softer in the way that he comes across, whereas Elena is very, very different. And I used to have it obviously wasn't as diverse, but I used to have it like that. And one of a beta reader, I think it was one of the Reddit ones, basically turned around to me and said, he's an 18-year-old boy, like he wouldn't talk like this. This isn't how 18-year-old boys talk. And I was like very new to the process, and I was like, okay, they must be right. So I changed his entire voice from start to finish. And then when I did it, I thought, why did I do that? So not all beta reader feedback is good beta reader feedback, and that's not to slag them off because they helped tremendously with the book. But I now have a rule where if beta readers, if I don't hear the same piece of advice twice, if I don't agree with it, I ignore it. Whereas there was once a time when I would just follow everybody's advice, which is the worst thing you can do. Because oh god, just don't do it. So I went through, but that going through and having to change his voice the second time was exactly what I needed, because it really made me focus on how he would say it. So Elena's voice never changed, it just sort of maybe got a little bit rougher or a little bit sharper, whereas because I changed his entire voice from start to finish and had to change it back again, it really gave me that kind of chance to sit with it and think, right, okay, how would he actually express himself? So yeah.
Did you get inspiration from like hearing any of your friends talk to creating dialogue, or how did you get the main inspiration for just conversational dialogue?
That just all came from my head. Like there is sometimes, not with Snowdrops and Stones, like I said, because it was already written. Like, so all of that just came from in my head. Whereas Soulless is different. So now like we'll have conversations in the group chat and we'll say something that's absolutely hilarious, and I'll think that's going in the book. Like that's getting used. Like, so we've made a running joke where all of us need to include the line blowing air through the mouth like a horse, like so we've all decided that we're going to use that line somewhere in our book.
Oh, that's so cute.
So, but like there is like dialogue that I have in real life with my friends and stuff like that. That's like banter or like something like that, and I think, oh, I could use a derivative of that in the book. So yeah, that's sort of that's a lot of the dialogue from Soulless is definitely inspired from real life, but from Snowdrops and Stones, that was just all me. Yeah,
it must have been a lot of work. Like,
honestly, With Snowdrops and Stones, I can't remember, like, because it was written that long ago. Like, this is why I got so frustrated when I was writing Solus, because I was like, I can't remember it being this stressful last time. But last time I was writing it as escapism. This time I'm writing it because it's a job, do you know? And don't get me wrong, it's the best job in the world. I love it. But like, you're definitely going at it through a different lens. So I can't really remember with Snowdrops and Stones now.
Do you find yourself more stressed writing now that you're agented and there's like a different vibe to it?
Yeah, because before I was writing for me, I wasn't writing for anybody else, whereas now I'm writing for an audience. And just because of who I am as a person, like I said, I get really, I'm really shy about sharing my writing, and I know that one day I won't be, but for now it's been really difficult for me. Like, I've finished this draft and I've only shared like the first half of it with people because I'm too scared to share the rest. But it's like, I'm gonna have my editor friend look over it in a few weeks' time, so I'm like, you are doing that whether you want to or not. And she can hate the book, and that's fine, that can be her opinion, but you know it's not badly written, so just get over it. So that's sort of where I'm at. Yeah, it's definitely different this time, writing for an audience rather than for myself.
Was Snowdrops and Stones your first ever book idea, or did you have other ideas before that that you started pursuing?
No, that was the first ever thing. Like, and that's the weird thing is, like, it was just a random. It came from, I read a really interesting. I'm really into like folklore and mythology and stuff like that. And I read up on this mythical creature that's sort of like a vampire, called an aswang from Filipino folklore. And I got really interested in this creature. And so I was like, okay, so what happens if this was real? And we live in a world where this is real. And so that was like the start of Snowdrops and Stones. And so I just started, like, I didn't write in order. I just started writing scenes, and then it kind of became something entirely different. So that kind of came from the mythology point of view, and then I wrote it, then got put away, and then I just didn't ever think about writing again. Not one single thought popped into my head. Like, if they did, I didn't write them down. Like, I can't remember any time that's happened. And it wasn't until I kind of joined the writing community and stuff like that I kind of started paying my daydreams more attention and forming them into something. So I've now got, do you use Milanote? I've now got like a Milanote that's like absolutely full of different like whips. So that line across the top is Snowdrops and Stones, and then all those in like dots are different ideas. And some of them, like, you'll open and it's like there's like an absolute load in, and I could scroll forever and like, yeah. And then other things I'll open it and there is like literally like, yeah, that. So sometimes it's a sentence, sometimes it's a fully fleshed out idea, but yeah, the only ones that I've started working on are Threadweaver and Soulless, but I've got loads of ideas now. But it was before Snowdrops and Stones. It was like even before Soulless, Threadweaver, even before that, it wasn't a thing that I just used to ignore the daydreams, and now I don't.
Oh.
I'm sure Region is really happy that you have all these just different ideas that are just ready to be fleshed out.
She's got another client called Miley, who is just, that girl's a machine, man. She comes up with a different idea every day and it's half written by the next day, I swear to God. She can write like something insane, like, you know, when you type it, like how many words a minute or something like that. It was, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like double mine, like this, and she types with 2 fingers. She's just insane with how fast she can type. So yeah, she gets she wins the award for the amount of ideas and the amount of whips. I think she's got about 9 going at the minute.
Wow.
Like, it's crazy.
I can barely handle one.
I know, same here. Like, I am not a multiple whip at a time girl. Like, Soulless and Threadweaver are enough for me, and Threadweaver has not been looked at in about a year. So yeah.
So you had mentioned that I think it was Snowdrops, that there's some folklore in there. Have you put any folklore in your current whip?
Yeah, so it's based, I'm half Scottish. My mum was from Scotland. And so I wanted, obviously it's second world, so it's not based in Scotland, but I definitely wanted to give it a Scottish feel. So the setting is very much based on sort of like the heaths in Scotland and stuff like that. But I've also included different like folkloric creatures from Scotland, like kelpies and stuff like that. They're called different things because different world, but like it's all kind of derived from from that. So yeah.
I kind of did have this question because Maddie has Query Tracker Premium, and
Yeah.
I don't because I think I would. Well, I think I'd go insane if I had that. Do you recommend that querying?
Yeah, go insane, babe. Go insane, honestly. Yeah, as long as you go into it knowing that you will go insane, okay? I think it's a useful tool to an extent. I think that it did more harm than good sometimes because I think that I did get obsessed. I would spend my day staring at a screen, refreshing like an agent's page, like just waiting, especially if you can see them creeping closer to your name, and then the rejection would come and I'd be like, well, what was I expecting? Do you know? So I do think it is a really good tool. But I do think that you need to kind of set a screen limiter on it or something like that. Like all the information that you need is going to be emailed to you, whether you've got the free version or the premium version. Do you know what I mean? Like staring at the screen ain't going to make it any better. But I personally did, yeah, I liked having it. Yeah.
So then how did you deal with the rejection for it?
Sometimes I don't know. I don't know if you guys are like this as well, but it's like peaks and troughs. Sometimes I'd be like, oh, okay, and then I can remember the first rejection I got on a full. Oh, I was devastated, and like that put me in a writing slump for about 3 months.
Oh,
like I took that really, really hard, and like I think that was when I would like started rewriting it again. But it was a form rejection as well. So I didn't even get any actionable feedback off it, which was like just so gutting. So I do think that it depends. Like sometimes I would get it. It's like now with submission. Like sometimes I get rejections. And like the other day she told me about a rejection. I was like, I forgot we even submitted it. Like so sometimes it's just like water off a duck's back, and like other times there was one that I got through to acquisitions, and that was gutting because I really thought that I might get something. So yeah, like, but it's different. It's different in the query trenches to submission as well, because I think it's worse in the query trenches. I think I've given snowdrops and stones to Rachel, and it's no longer my problem. Like, I do not have to think about that book ever again if I don't want to. You know, it's completely Rachel's deal now, and like I think Rachel takes it harder than I do. Like Rachel really, really, she loves her clients, but she doesn't sign books that she's not absolutely enamored by. So when they get rejected, it hits her as well. So like, she got a rejection for another book the other day that wasn't mine, and she was gutted, man. She was so she was like, oh, this put me in such a bad mood. So like, it's just like, yeah. But again, it like I said, it's peaks and troughs. It happens for everyone. It happens for agents. It happens for editors and acquisitions. It happens for us in the trenches. You know, it's one of those things where some of them are going to hit harder than the others, and some of them are going to hit for 3 months. Hopefully that won't happen again though.
So then do you think that having a supportive agent is going to really kind of help that rejection feel? Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Like I said, every agent's different. You hear lots of different stories from different people about why they've left their agents and stuff like that. And I would never leave Rachel. She's stuck with me forever now. She's, even if she didn't sell this book, I wouldn't hold it against her. Like, it's just not for the market right now, you know, like, and I think the way that she handles each one of our clients is fantastic. So one of our clients that she's got doesn't want any feedback whatsoever. Don't tell me anything. Only tell me once the contract's ready to sign. That's the way. And so Rachel's like, okay, yeah. Whereas I'm like, tell me everything. I want screenshots. I want everything. Like, so like it is just, so Rachel kind of handles us the way that we want to be handled, you know, and like, yeah, she's amazing. Can't sing her praises highly enough.
awesome. Like it seems like it was like meant to be, especially with the Taylor Swift like
I
meeting.
know. Well, now I can forever say that Taylor Swift got me a literary agent.
Oh, I was wondering, I'm also kind of a Swiftie and I listen to music as I write, and I was wondering, do you listen to Taylor Swift or any other music while you write?
So while I write, no, because because of my I don't know. This might not have anything to do with it. I have read research that they are linked, so maybe. But I've got dyslexia, and I find it really difficult to listen and do stuff at the same time. I can do one or the other, and it's like even when like I'm scrolling through memes on Instagram, I need to pause the video so that I can read the text because I can't. My brain can't read it while there's noise. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So with Snowdrops and Stones, I had a Snowdrops and Stones playlist, and I used to listen to that on repeat while I was editing. But with Solus, it's done completely in silence. I'm not familiar enough with the book yet to be able to have noise in the background, but I do. Music inspires me so much. Like it was even in my query letter, like everything. I live and breathe music. Like everything that I write is inspired by some kind of song, or I can fit some song to it, or like, yeah. So I do like listening to music. It's just not always conducive. So I don't always do it. Yeah.
You had mentioned that you have dyslexia. Do you think that's impacted your editing process?
It's hard to say because it's just spelling mistakes more than anything else, and like you've got like Grammarly or like Word, like that helps out with a lot of that anyway. Although like Grammarly's, it's a faff because I just need to know if I've spelled a word wrong because my brain literally cannot see it. I'm blind to spelling mistakes. Whereas Grammarly's like, do you want shall I help you suck the soul out of your writing by suggesting that? I'm like, go away, I don't need your help with writing, leave me alone. So but like you can't, you maybe can't actually, and I've just been a div about it, but like you can't turn off certain features. All I want is the spell check feature, and it'll like underline all of my stuff. Like, do you want to go pro? I'm like, no, just tell me if I've spelled this word wrong. So yeah, I just heavily rely on spell check features and my beta readers to correct it for me. But like still now, I read Snowdrops and Stones about a month ago, and there was spelling mistakes in it, and I was just like, oh, for Christ's sake, like I don't think there's anything. Like I don't think I could ever read it enough to get rid of everything, but like it doesn't affect me writing. It doesn't affect me writing the prose or anything like that. It's just more like I am just so blind to spelling mistakes, and I get letters like V, Z, and R muddled up, and F sometimes. So like razor, spelling the word razor for me is an absolute roller coaster because I just can't picture the word in my mind, and it's such a simple word, but so my brain just can't. I can't. Yeah.
That's really interesting that you mentioned having like finding a spelling mistake even recently. I think a lot of querying or potentially querying authors think their book has to be perfect before they send it out. And what advice would you give them?
It completely depends on the literary agent that you send it to. My literary agent isn't like developmentally inclined. That's not to say she won't do it, but she quite likes books to be brought to her in the condition really that she wants to sell them in, and she'll just do kind of minor edits, but she'll never go into a book and rip it apart and say do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. Or if she does, like I said, it's few and far between. There are other agents that will take a book that they like the idea of and say, okay, completely rewrite it like this. I don't think Rachel's one of them, or at least she hasn't been for me. I do think that you need to kind of be wary when you send it into the query trenches, because you want to send your best work. Do you know, I think the best advice that I could give to anybody is I was told no more than 100k for fantasy, and I was still submitting 115k. Do you know? And it's like, and in some of these places, it's like a query one and done. You can't resubmit. You can only submit to one agent, stuff like that. So like, just follow the guidelines. And I wish I could go back and shake myself a little bit because I didn't. But that being said, I wouldn't
worry over like the amount of times I've addressed a query letter to the wrong agent, or I've spelt something wrong. I've spelt my own name wrong once. Like, it's like an agent isn't going to reject you for that. And if they are, they're not the agent for you. Do you know, like, I can't imagine any agents that are going to reject you because of spelling mistakes. Just purely because, like, it might, like me, like, if you're dyslexic, then spelling mistakes are going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're not all going to be caught. So I think it would be very unfair for I don't think it would really happen. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I've never heard of a literary agent. I've got quite a few literary agents that I talk to, and I've never heard of a single one of them being like, oh yeah, they spelt my name wrong, or they didn't address the right person, or the synopsis was too long, like, so I rejected them. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, if you send a 5-page synopsis and they've asked for a page, then someone's gone wrong there. But if you're sending a page and a half and they've asked for a page, they're not going to reject you over that, you know?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's so scary once you hit the send button and then, like, after you see a typo or a comma where there shouldn't be one. And you're like,
yeah, when the autofill feature is the worst feature, but it's the best feature the query tracker ever brought in, but it's also the worst because the amount of times that I just clicked send and I was like, didn't change the agent's name, you idiot. Like, so, like, oh, honestly, yeah.
That's such a relief to know that, because I've definitely done that. May I ask, like, you having a pen name, HL Docherty? Did I say it right? Docherty?
Yeah, Docherty, yeah.
Like, if I may ask, like, where did it come from? Was it something you always pictured being a pen name when you started querying?
So no, I just needed a name to cover my identity. My pen name sort of came about when I started querying and I just needed something to hide my real name. So HL is my first 2 initials, and then Docherty is a family name. It was from my mum's side of the family. My mum didn't know that I was a writer. I never told her, and I regret that a lot now. But I just kind of wanted her to be like in it, so like it would be like her name on the shelves if it ever got published and stuff like that. So that was sort of the theory behind it.
Wait, that's so sweet. Do you think, like, did you ever talk about, or if I may ask, you don't have to answer this, of course, but did you ever talk about reading with your mom? Was she a writer at all?
No, so she wasn't a writer as such. She was a teacher as well. But she did love reading, but it very incorporated with the kids that she taught. Sorry. So but she was the one that got me into reading, and she was the one that gave me the book that inspired Snowdrops and Stones, the romance in it. And when Twilight came out, and my cousin told me about Twilight, and I really liked Cedric Diggory and Harry Potter. And so my cousin was like, oh, this movie's coming out and it's got Cedric Diggory in it. And I was like, oh, I'll have to give that a read. So my mom bought me the Twilight books and I devoured them. Oh my God. I devoured them about 3 times in the space of a month. Like, I absolutely adored those books. And so my mom was like, okay, she's getting into reading. Let's kindle this. So my mom bought me a book called Noughts and Crosses by Malorie Blackman. And it is a phenomenal book. And it's a tragedy. It's not a romance, but it gives like Romeo and Juliet vibes, with like feuding families. But it's about Noughts, who are white people, and Crosses, who are black people, and it sort of asks the question, what would life be like? It's like a dystopian world where white people are the underclass and black people are the ruling race. And it's a really, really interesting take. Malorie Blackman is a phenomenal author, but that book was the thing that sparked the kind of plot idea for Snowdrops and Stones. And still now when I read it, I can still see like parts of like my inspiration from that. So my mum after that would just throw any book at me that would stick. So I wasn't a big reader. I was definitely one of those girlies who fell off the train a bit in my early 20s, and then ACOTAR reminded me that I liked reading again, and then I fell down the fantasy romance hole. So yeah, but like all of that kind of happened after she passed. So, but she was definitely a strong
influence in my reading when I was younger, and definitely when I was writing Snowdrops and Stones.
So sweet.
That's lovely.
We did hear, or maybe Maddie heard, that you like D&D, and we were wondering if any of your characters like were inspired by you making a character in D&D, or how that plays a role in your writing.
So no, actually, no. So my D&D, that came just before, I think Game of Thrones had finished, and we were gutted for many different reasons. But Game of Thrones had finished, but we had like a group of people that came over every single week to watch Game of Thrones. And so like we were like, well, what do we do now? And so we were like, well, why don't we play Dungeons and Dragons? And none of us had ever played it before. And so it was like an absolute clusterfuck, and like trying to figure out what to do. And we had the books, and we'd bought everything. We went hard, but that was before like any of the writing stuff. So that was like 2018 or something. And so that's when our kind of group started, and it's really hard to get people together now. I haven't played it in a very long time, just because we're having the kids and stuff. We don't do our weekly meetings anymore, and but I love Dungeons and Dragons. But you must have seen the post that I'd just done as the collaboration a few days ago, and I went on D&D Beyond, and I was making Elena in D&D Beyond, and like rolling like all the dice. I had my book out and everything, and I was just like, this is amazing. Like, I love this so much. Like, so I am tempted to go and make every single one of my characters as D&D characters now.
That would be iconic.
Oh gosh, yeah, I loved it.
I haven't played D&D, but I've always been interested in wanting to at least like give it a go.
It's just storytelling, you know, like it's just storytelling in a different medium, because you can write your own campaigns. I've written once before, and it's just, you can decide where this, it's not about winning or losing, it's just about like telling a story, and it's a really interesting way to do that with friends as well. So yeah, I really liked it for that reason, and it's a really good community. Like, do you know Baldur's Gate?
Well, I've heard of it.
Yeah, so Baldur's Gate is, like I said, that I stream on Twitch, and Baldur's Gate is a game that's kind of based off the Dungeons and Dragons rules. And so I ended up, that's how I met my artist actually. But I ended up playing on there, and I made my first ever D&D character on this game and stuff like that. It's a whole world, and it's, yeah, fantastic storytelling.
We'll have to give it a shot, Maddie.
You have to. Honestly, I've sunk so many hours into that game.
Okay, this kind of brings us to like titles, because you have such great titles. Like, they seem so interesting, and they really fit like the themes, or at least like the genres, it sounds like. How did you come up with titles? Do you get the title first and then write the story?
No, so Snowdrops and Stones was originally called Girl in the Meadow. And the setting is basically, there's monsters that live in the forests and the meadows. And Elena, the main character, has got severe mental health issues and finds herself in these meadows quite often. And so that's kind of where that came from. And when I was sending it out to beta readers, like kind of for the second round with people that I actually knew and trusted and stuff like that, one of the beta readers came back and said, I'm just not sure about the title. And I was like, well, what aren't you sure about? And she's like, well, it's sort of given like Girl on the Train sort of vibes, which is the wrong genre. And I was like, yeah, she's right, actually. So I kind of thought on it, and there's two symbols in the book that the characters give to each other, and it reminds them each of the other person. And so he gives her beads, like a necklace that belongs to him, that are really, really rare stones. And she gives to him, she can't afford anything, she's really poor, she just plucks a snowdrop out of the floor and gives it to him. And so that's where Snowdrops and Stones came from, where it's just like, it's because it symbolizes each other. So yeah.
Wait, that's so sweet, so romantic.
What inspired you to write romance?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Like, I think it's just because it's something I really enjoy. Like, whenever I pick up a book, it's always a romance. It doesn't have to be fantasy, but like, we've got in the agent Discord, we've got like a spreadsheet of here we are, what we write, what would read. And And it just means if we ever want beta readers from within the agent sibling community, we can see exactly the type of stuff that they're after. And I will read anything as long as it's got romance. I do not care what the genre is. Like, give me any genre, give me any age range. I do not care as long as there's a romance plot in there, and I'll read it. It's just something that I've always loved to read. So it's just doing it on my own way. Yeah.
I'm totally the same way. I love romance.
Yeah, live and breathe it.
Do you draw from, you don't have to answer this again, but do you draw from like your own real life with your husband at all when you write romance in your books?
No, I think that would embarrass us both. We're both very British. British people don't feel things. It's not. It's never been based on sort of real life. It's just based on book boyfriends. Completely made up. Like, I might give it to my husband and be like, "This is a guide."
Maybe I should give it to my fiance as a guy.
I'm assuming that you kind of have to do a good amount of research for your books.
It depends. So I didn't for Snowdrops and Stones. Again, it was already written. So there wasn't a lot. So I can remember doing quite a lot of research in the day back on those like mythical creatures that I was telling you about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I kind of looked into them quite a lot. Whereas Solace is different just because it's a lot more heavy on the fantasy side. Snowdrops and Stones is set in a magical world, but it isn't about the magic. Whereas the primary driving force of my main character in Solace is that the cost of using magic is that it kind of strips your soul temporarily, and it leaves you without emotion. So the more you use the magic, the less emotion you've got. And so it was sort of, because she uses magic so often, it's something that's intrinsically built into the bones of the story. So because there was a lot more magic, there was a lot more research to sort of go behind that. But also, like, it's just a lot more intricate than Snowdrops and Stones was, because I've made up a religion. I sort of made up. The setting is new, but it's also based in the same world as Snowdrops and Stones, but just like 10,000 years earlier. So I've still got kind of the same map idea, and I know where things are in my head, but it's obviously completely different. And there's no link between the books. There's no like recurring characters or like anything like that. It's just the same world, but even the magic system is different because stuff evolves over time. So this is like magic in Snowdrops and Stones, but in its very, very earliest. Like, yeah, and so there's stuff in Solace that would then maybe explain stuff in Snowdrops and Stones, but you don't need the two. Like, it's such an author thing, isn't it? It's like, oh yeah, he's got rings around his eyes at Snowdrops and Stones. I'm going to tell you why in this book. You know what I mean? It's such a writer thing, like writing like a 3,000 page like document on the religious system that no one is ever going to see. So yeah, quite a lot of research has gone into that, just to kind of make sure that I'm doing it right. So it's based on a runic system, so I've kind of taken from the Scandinavian kind of Viking vibes. And so just getting that right, getting the names of stuff right, and then like obviously Googling things that I'll clearly get arrested for if anyone ever checks me Google search history, like how long does it take to bleed out when you cut your throat and stuff like that. So it's a lot more research this time than Snowdrops and Stones for sure.
Did you have to do any sort of research for the Scottish things that you wanted to incorporate? Have you been to Scotland?
Yeah. So not really so much the Scottish stuff, because like I said, that's like that's just half of me. You know, like I'm go to Scotland a few times a year. Half my family lives there. Like it's yeah, like Scotland was the easy bit.
Everything else was hard.
Do you think you will tell your family like once it gets published, like once it's on bookshelves?
Yeah, I think if I sign the contract, then yeah. So one of my uncles does know, and he regularly checks in to see if I've sold a book yet.
Oh my gosh.
So apart from that, my two best friends know what my husband knows, and his mom knows. So, and I think that's about it. But I'd tell people, even like I'd tell my family, even the ones that don't know and stuff like that, if I signed a contract, then they'd want to read it. Sex in it.
Do you feel like it'll get a little awkward?
Only because my uncles would make it awkward. They would read it and they'd be like, "So," and like they would read it out loud. I know they would. They'd read it out loud in a crowd. They're that kind of people. Yeah, they would read that shit out loud in a crowded room while I was there, without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh no, that's something to look forward to, I guess.
I can't wait.
Do you still participate at all in pitch events?
Yeah, I get severe FOMO. So the fear of missing out is just huge if I don't take part. And so it's different now because I don't think editors are as on like on social media as agents are. But it's still nice to do, and it's just an excuse for a graphic for Instagram, isn't it? If I do a pitch event, I don't have to make a graphic for Instagram. So it's I do it, and I enjoy supporting the community. I love, like, especially like Unhinged Pit and like the kind of more weird ones. Like I love seeing people's, like, I have a raw, it's my favorite, like going through all of the Unhinged Pit pictures. I just sit and crease while I'm just like scrolling through, and I could spend the day on there easy. But it's so nice to support these different communities. But that's also how me and Jenee got talking properly, because of a pitch event. I really liked her book, and so that's how I became on her radar, and then asked to read it, and now it's getting published. So but like, so it's one of those things where it's good for the community, I think, and I still like taking part in them because of that. I don't expect to get anything from it editor-wise, but that doesn't make it less fun.
I think that you mentioned earlier that you are or were a round table mentor.
No.
Oh.
I was just in the Discord. I'd applied for a mentor, and I didn't get through.
Oh. How did you feel about that? Like, were you kind of
to be honest, it's just so hard. Like, the competition's like crazy. Like, I think there was like 1,000 people in that Discord or something. Like, it's insane. Like, there was a load of people in that Discord, and they all wanted a mentor, and there was only a certain amount of mentors. So I think, you get disappointed, but it's nothing like crippling or anything like that, because you know that the competition's fierce, and like, yeah.
Do you think you would ever take on a mentorship position for a writer who's interested?
I'd like to do it one day, but I'm very far off one day. Like I said, I've got a lot on. I need my kids to move out. One of them is only 6 months old, but I need him to move out. So yeah, I'd like to do something like that one day, but it'll be a long time off yet.
Do you have like a dream one that you'd do it through?
I don't know. I don't know. I've never really thought about it that much.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like far in advance anyway.
Yeah.
You have time.
That 6-month-old to college. Maybe do we want to ask like a final question perchance?
Yes. I would actually like to know what advice you have to impart for any writers that are seeking to be traditionally published or just starting.
I think you should find out what the restrictions are for your word count, and you should stick to them. I think you shouldn't be disheartened if you do have to shelve books, or if you are getting lots of rejections. It's part and parcel. Like, I know someone who wrote 6 books before they got an agent, which is really, really disheartening, especially because you fall in love with everything that you write. And it's not that that book is bad, and it's not that that book won't get published. Like, if you get a literary agent with your 6th book, you can give them your book one. You just got to get your foot in the door. If you're not getting where you want to be, it's not because your writing's necessarily bad. It's just that it's not the right time. But that doesn't mean that it's never going to be the right time. So yeah, just keep plugging on and make sure that you've got your community to cry to.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, it's been lovely talking to you girls. Thank you. I'm so chuffed to be the first person. Right, great. Well, it was lovely meeting you both.
Lovely.
Thank you guys so much for watching our interview of HL Docherty. We hope that you guys had lots to learn and that it was very informative. Please make sure that you like and subscribe and follow us on all of our social medias, and stay tuned for the next episode. Bye!